And our top focus on WION right now. International Criminal Court's prosecutor is seeking arrest warrants for Israel and Hamas leaders amid the ongoing war in West Asia. The court's prosecutor, Karim Khan, is seeking an arrest warrant for Netanyahu, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and 3 Hamas leaders, namely Yahya Sinwar, Mohammad Deif, and Ismail Haniyeh. They are accused of war crimes and crimes against humanity in the Gaza Strip and Israel.
The crimes include starvation of civilians as a method of warfare, willfully causing great suffering, serious injury to body or health or cruel treatment, willful killing or murder, and intentionally directing attacks against a civilian population, as well as crimes against humanity of extermination and or murder, persecution, and allegations of crimes of committing other inhumane acts.
80 years ago, the Jewish people were defenseless against our enemies, but no more. I repeat what I said at the eve of the Holocaust Memorial Day in Jerusalem. As Prime Minister of Israel, I pledge that no pressure and no decision in any international forum will prevent us from striking those who seek to destroy us. We will bring down Hamas's evil rule and will achieve total victory.
While Netanyahu and his Defense Minister Gallant do not face imminent arrest, ICC Chief Prosecutor's announcement is a symbolic blow that deepens Israel's isolation of the war in Gaza. In recent days, 2 other members of Netanyahu's war cabinet, Gallant and Benny Gantz, threatened to resign if Netanyahu does not spell out a clear post-war vision for Gaza. However, Netanyahu received wall-to-wall support as lawmakers across the spectrum condemned the ICC prosecutor's move.
The announcement of the prosecutor of the ICC is beyond outrageous and shows the extent to which the international judicial system is in danger of collapse. Taken in bad faith, this one-sided move represents a unilateral political step that emboldens terrorists around the world and violates all the basic rules of the court according to the principles of international law, complementarity, and other legal norms.
A panel of 3 judges will decide whether to issue the arrest warrants and allow a case to proceed. The judges typically take 2 months to make such decisions. International human rights lawyer Amal Clooney served on a 5-member expert panel that advised Khan. She said that the panel had agreed unanimously that there are reasonable grounds to believe that both the Hamas and Israeli leaders had committed war crimes. On the other hand, Hamas has strongly condemned the attempts of the prosecutor of the ICC to equate the victim with the executioner by issuing arrest warrants against a number of Palestinian resistance leaders. And for more on this, our correspondent Jody Cohen has sent us this report from Ranana. Take a look.
An Israeli official has said that Jerusalem was shocked when notification of the ICC's chief prosecutor's decision came through, calling it a baseless blood libel. Remember, some prominent military experts have said that Israel has taken more steps to protect civilians than any army in military history. And while the UN quotes the average combatant to civilian casualty ratio in war as 1:9, the ratio in this war is said to be 1:1. Foreign Minister Katz said the decision was intended to prevent Israel from exercising its right to self-defense. War Cabinet Minister Benny Gantz has called Khan's decision moral bankruptcy, and head of the opposition Yair Lapid has suggested that comparing Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Gallant to Hamas is unforgivable. This is Jody Cohen for WION World as One.
And for more on this, we're now being joined by Professor James A. Russell, Associate Professor in the Department of National Security Affairs at Naval Postgraduate School. Welcome to the show, Professor Russell. I want to first start by asking that the ICC has said that there are reasonable grounds to believe that both the Hamas and Israeli leaders had committed war crimes. The pertinent question right now being, what would be the consequences if these arrest warrants are issued?
Well, I think it's important to note that the International Criminal Court, these are pretty serious people. I mean, this is not like in the United States where we have the Fox News network, where people get on TV and shout at each other and they can say whatever they want. The International Criminal Court these are serious international legal scholars and experts. And I think as you've identified in your report, it's clear that something like this, the sort of seeking of arrest warrants, is going to further isolate Israel internationally around the world. But I should also hasten to add that I also think that it simply reinforces the existing right-wing Zionist narrative inside Israel that they're surrounded, by godless savages on all sides who are also anti-Semitic, and everybody's out to get them, which only then, of course, reinforces the sense in Israel that the rules don't apply to them, and they can get away with doing whatever they want. And I think the International Criminal Court is to be applauded for seeking accountability, not just for the Israelis, but for Hamas too. I mean, this is what international institutions are supposed to do. And I'm fully in support of what the International Criminal Court is doing. And I think it's a positive step in the right direction to introduce some sense of accountability into this awful circumstance for both parties, for Hamas and for Israel. And what it will mean, of course, is that if the warrants are issued finally, that these people can be seized if they travel anywhere. So and then prosecuted.
Right, Professor Russell, you speak of how this will only isolate Israel on the global arena more. Just to follow up on that, US and Israel have called the warrants outrageous. What difference will this make in the ongoing war if the warrants are issued, given that the ICC rules they do not apply to the US, Egypt, Qatar and Israel?
Well, I don't think they're going to mean any changes in the actual conduct of the war. I think it's been pretty clear that Israel and the Netanyahu government is interested in evicting as many Palestinians from Gaza as it possibly can. It wants to put the remaining Palestinians into concentration camps. It wants to colonize the Gaza Strip with Israeli settlers, the way it's doing on the West Bank. And I would direct your viewers, if they have access to it. The New York Times has done a wonderful series about the settlers' terrorizing of the Palestinians on the West Bank, and we can expect to see some other kind of replication of this in Gaza. So I think that that is to say, the warrants are not going to affect this pursuit by the Israelis to try to get as many of the Palestinians out of the Gaza Strip as they possibly can. They're going to want to set up camps or cantonment areas, which will be surrounded by Israeli forces. It's going to be another version of what's happening on the West Bank, of course, I think.
Professor Russell, just want to seek your assessment on another aspect, that Netanyahu received full support from his war cabinet as news of the ICC warrant made headlines, which is in rather stark contrast to earlier statements made by Benny Gantz and Yoav Gallant, where we saw fissures between the leaders on a post-war plan for Gaza. I want to ask you that, is the ICC pressure in some way helping Netanyahu get support that he lost back home?
Well, I think, as in all of these kinds of circumstances in the domestic politics of these states, they're very complicated, of course. And just because in Israel, for example, you have this sense of unity behind Netanyahu as he's prosecuting the war, doesn't mean there aren't profound disagreements, of course, in the coalition government which Israel has put together for the war. But I don't think, while there have been differences, I don't think there's any basic disagreement on the Israeli in the Israeli political spectrum, for example, about the desirability of having some kind of Palestinian state and reaching some kind of political agreement with the Palestinians for a peaceful coexistence. I don't think either party in Israel, any part of the Israeli political spectrum, is in favor of that anymore. And the question is, I think, is just the disagreement is, I think, in a matter of degrees. The sort of right-wing settler Likud side of Israeli politics wants to simply continue with the policy of coercive colonization that it has been undertaking for the last 25 years, for example, on the West Bank, and shrinking the Palestinian areas and terrorizing the Palestinian population there. And as I say, Israel is in a wartime circumstance, and so they are. I think there's this sense of unity in trying to back Netanyahu, who's an immensely disturbing and destructive figure.
Right, Professor Russell, we have been seeing mounting pressure on Netanyahu, not just from Israel, but also from other countries. But thank you so much for taking our time and joining us here on WION with your insights.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.